Good morning, everyone. It appears as if this program may work. Let's see. Getting everything set up over here. Getting everything set up over here. Good, good. Okay. Give me just 1 second. Let me share this on Twitter. And good. I think I've done it. With any success, I believe we should be good to go. All right, let's go live on Instagram and we will start a little coffee a little bit early. All right, we're live. Thank you all very much for being here. 2 cameras again. I believe I have this set up to allow me to stream now on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. 5 things. I think it's all working. I think. Not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure. Actually, I'm going to close this. I don't think I need that. Hopefully that just didn't kill the stream. It should not have. All right, good. So today, we are on Twitch. That's good. I had a few things I wanted to talk about. First, I keep my little notepads here. Whenever you send in questions to me, by the way, or things I think are worth discussing, I write them down and I present them to you later. So, anytime you have anything you want me to discuss, if you think it's worth discussing on a little coffee, let me know because I'm happy to discuss it. Also, for the people on Instagram, let me know if the volume is better today. I have in these headphones that will hopefully make the sound better and not so echoey. I didn't like how echoey it was. Also, if you are listening on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, let me know if the sound is better as well. I turned my microphone's volume up from 50% to 75%, and with any luck, it will be louder. So let me know. I tried to fix the problem. Everyone says the volume is good. On Instagram, I'm more concerned about it being echoey. I don't want it to be echoey. I'm in a small room. It's not a big room. And the echo gets pretty rough. Okay, so anyway, first, I wanted to discuss how your strengths can also be your weaknesses, and how your strengths often are your weaknesses if they're not harnessed appropriately. So I'll take myself, for example. I am very obsessive about most things that I do. Whenever I decide to write a book, like all these books up here, I'll get them done in like 2 weeks. I'll sit there and I will grind for 16 hours a day every day, and I love it. I'm enjoying it the whole time. And I'll get things done. The problem, though, is that this degenerate personality can also go haywire because maybe if I decide to start having some alcohol, let's say I decide to have some wine, maybe next thing you know I'm having 2 bottles of wine. And that's certainly not good. Or if I maybe start gambling a little bit, maybe I go off the deep end and become a degenerate gambler, right? I've had a problem with sports betting in the past where I would almost just bet maximum because, that type of thing gets your focus. For people who have problems with being very obsessive, often they have attention deficit disorder and they really want to focus. People like myself love and need to focus, but they cannot focus well unless they really, really, really care about whatever it is that they are doing. So, how do you care about what you're doing? Well, often you put a lot of money on the line. An easy way to really care about anything is to bet on it. And eventually, when you start to have a decent amount of money, in order to care about things, you have to bet a lot of money, and that's a problem. So, I have to stay away from all forms of degenerate gambling, or things that can become degenerate, which is kind of rough for a poker player, but you'll find that a lot of poker players have this personality trait, because in order to get very good at something, you have to be obsessive about it. If you just play poker 2 hours a week, you're never going to get good. It's impossible. But if you play 16 hours a day every day for 3 years, it's pretty hard not to get good as long as you're actively focusing on studying. So, what have I learned to do? I've learned to channel my desire to focus into things that matter, into things that are productive. And I do that by working for all of you, right? I love getting up and doing a little coffee. have us a little coffee this morning. Actually, again, we have pu'er tea with a little bit of oolong tea. I believe this tea is called the Skinny from David's Tea. So anyway, you need to find things that are big leaks for you and make sure that those do not come into your life. Dean Nelson says he stopped playing PLO and blackjack because they were big leaks. Yeah, I mean, if you look at right outside of every poker room that's also in a casino, well, they have a gambling pit right outside. Let's see. Watching from Nagoya, from Thailand. Wow, welcome. So anyway, the gambling pit is right outside of the casino because that is where people go who have some money or people who are stuck, one of the two, and they are trying to get even or they're trying to get rich. Either way, they often find themselves into the blackjack pit. And that's terrible, right? Last thing you want to do is take whatever winnings you have and gamble with it because that is a sure way to go broke. Whenever you parlay, essentially where you take whatever winnings you have and then you try to turn them into lots more winnings, that really jacks up the variance. And if you're a professional gambler, you want to keep variance at the minimum. You strive to keep variance at the minimum because if you keep variance at the minimum, it's nearly impossible for you to go broke. But if you jack up variance significantly, what happens is you're going to go broke. It's inevitable. This is what happens when people say they satellite into a $10,000 buy-in tournament for $300 and then they win. And they get into a $10,000 tournament. They win that. They get $1 million. The next thing you know, they're playing 100Ks. Next thing you know, they're broke. Stone broke. They had $1 million. Now they're broke. And it's because they're just trying to get infinite money. And the problem with trying to get infinite money is that you never really get to infinite. You can get to a lot, but even today, they have $1 million buy-in tournaments, right? Like, where do you stop? Some people do stop at some point. They think, okay, if I just get $5 million, I'll quit. I'll be set for life. But they don't do that. They keep gambling. They push it hard, and then next thing you know, they're broke. So anyway, be aware of that. Someone mentioned that PLO is beatable. Yes, so is blackjack and sports betting and all of these games. Most casino games actually are beatable if you know exactly what to do. Roulette's beatable, right? You track the wheels. You find the exact correct wheel. You make sure you keep track of it through the nights because they'll shift them around on you. And then as soon as you find a lopsided wheel, you bet on it. But that's not how most people play roulette. Sports betting's beatable. You just have to have really, really good models. But that's not how people bet on sports. And, you know, PLO's beatable. You just have to, well, play well, right? And make sure you're playing a game with no rake or little rake. But no one does that. So just because something is beatable does not mean it is good. I mean, there are a lot of professional poker players who are also very good sports bettors. They're often the very mathematically inclined ones. And, you know, that's fine. But that is not me. I'm not the most mathematically inclined person. I'm not a computer programmer. I was actually talking to Ed Miller a while back. And I was asking, should I be getting into daily fantasy sports? Because he was crushing it. And he said, well, are you very good at computer programming? I said, no. He said, are you really good at math? I said, no. He said, well, then you definitely don't want to get into it because it's not for you. It's not in my wheelhouse, right? And that's okay. You need to understand your strengths and your weaknesses because if you get into things that you are not equipped to deal with, that's going to really, really cause you problems. Uncle Eddie in the chat. Hello, Uncle Eddie. Welcome. So let's try to think about other things that could be strengths and weaknesses that could give you problems. Let's say you have a very high emotional intelligence. You really connect well with people. For people like this, often you're going to have really great personal relationships, but usually people who have this great trait also get really, they care too much, right? They get offended a lot of the time. They care what people think because that's how they connect with people. And it can cause them a lot of emotional trauma if they do care too much. Maybe you're a very diligent person. Let's say you are meticulous, you get everything perfectly right every time you do it, but it takes you a long time, right? If it takes you a long time to get things done, you may find that you never get anything done. When I wrote this book up here, Excelling at No Limit Hold'em, I worked with 17 other poker authors / poker players, and it turns out that they're all very, very different. Some of them were very fast. They turned in their work immediately, and it was pretty clean and good. Others would dwell on every single word, right? They really, really, really cared if they use a slightly wrong word in each individual spot, and it took them forever to get a 20-page chapter done. That's a flaw of theirs, right? They don't need to be so meticulous. But I do understand that being meticulous ensures you put out very, very good work. So it's something you have to harness, right? I think whenever you're starting a business, it's very good to have people on your team who are very good at the thing that you are not. I am not so meticulous. I am very, very fast, but I'm not so meticulous. And this is a problem for me. So my partner, Dan Stanley, who does a lot of my marketing emails and whatnot, he is really meticulous. So we always have this little strain back and forth where I'm always trying to move faster. He's always trying to make sure things are perfect. And it's a tug of war, but it's not a malicious tug of war. We always are working to better each other. And, we may not even agree on things sometimes, but I understand his strengths, right? Marketing and whatnot. And he understands my strengths, which is making content and playing poker. And we work very well together because of this. We have an agreement, right? We never really fight, as I hear a lot of business partners do. And I think that's a good thing, right? You want to find people who are agreeable. So anyway, the point of all this is to figure out what your strengths are and make sure you do not fall into them as your weakness. So if you have a very degenerate personality, if you're very addictive, if you have an addictive personality, make sure that doesn't crush you. Trying to see if there's a book back here. I don't think it is. It's in my other bookshelf. Oh, is this it? No, that's not it. There's a little book by Brandon Adams, a very great poker player and does all other sorts of stuff, called something about traits for degenerates, right? Or life tips for degenerates. And it's a very, very good book. It talks about the swings that degenerates, like myself, go through, where sometimes you're feeling like you really want to work, you really want to do things, and other times you just need to relax. And it's very important to go with the flow of the way you're feeling, because I know there are times where I don't feel like doing anything. This often happens after I lose a poker tournament, right? I don't feel like doing anything after that. And if I try to do things after that, often the work is not so good. And I realize this, right? So I figure out things that I'm not good at, and I adjust accordingly. So you need to figure out what you're good at, what you're bad at, and there's always also the question of, do you want to try to fix your weaknesses or improve on your strengths and just focus on your strengths? And I think you need to be aware of your weaknesses, and you need to find someone else who can take care of those faults in you. Don't know if they're necessarily thoughts, but faults. They're not necessarily faults, but you need to make sure that you don't get in your own way. A lot of people who are very successful in life have figured out ways to not get in their own way. For example, if I was a degenerate, right, and I realized I love drinking wine, I could come home and drink 2 bottles of wine every night. No problem. I could do that. No, I'd be very happy and I could do that. But I know that would not be good for productivity. And I understand that I want to be productive, so I channel my desire to do things and to desire to focus into work instead of trying to turn it off with drugs, for example. Like, I don't do drugs at all. And I think that would be very detrimental for someone like myself. So be smart is what it amounts to. Understand yourself. Try to figure out what your problems are and don't fall into them. Let's see. Tomato says he has a question about my push-fold application, FTT Poker. Yeah, feel free to ask away. Tomato, that seems to be an error in the app, where basically you're saying that sometimes it doesn't say which ante is correct. Whatever ante you select on the bottom is the one that is being displayed. So maybe there's some glitch. Feel free to take a screenshot and send it to me. support@jonathanlittlepoker.com. Anytime any of you see anything wrong with any of my sites, please send me information, because, like I said, I'm not the most diligent, and sometimes I miss things. All right, let's see what other questions we have coming in. Should you invest in a poker solver, and why? Depends on how much you play poker, John Jacob. If you play poker just a little bit, I would definitely say no. I would instead suggest you to watch training videos by people who will solve the most common spots and explain to you how to extrapolate from that solution. Also, if you don't play high stakes, it's probably not that beneficial. It's probably not a great use of your time. Time's very important. Using your time well is very important. And Solvers will help you get a little bit better in a lot of spots, but it just takes a lot of time. Harrison says, what are my opinions on a site that operates within America illegally? And do I have an opinion on them? I think that all the sites that are not regulated within America will almost certainly steal your last cash out. How do you know it's your last cash out? Well, the site closes up and they don't give you your money. What happens is they will pay out fine for a while, but then eventually the site is going to run into money problems. They all seem to do for some reason. And then they get in trouble with the government, or they get in trouble with the government, and then they close up and take whatever money's in there. So they're a great way to practice. It's a great thing to keep $50 in and play tiny stakes poker, because then everyone's playing as if it's for real. It's way better than playing on play money sites, I think, if you're trying to get better. And it's a good thing. Henderson says, when watching poker streamers, watching streamers is not a good way to get better, in my opinion. Unless they're presenting on a topic, like if they're doing a webinar, sure, watch that kind of thing. But just watching people play is often not a good way to learn, especially if they are streaming and dealing with chat and all that, because they're not going to give good, concise information. So what should you be taking notes on? I would tell you to sign up to one of the various training sites, Anderson. That's by far the best thing to do. When I watch streamers, I'm watching people who I play against on a regular basis, and that is most of the value for me, because I know I'm going to play with these people at some point, and seeing specific things they do is relevant. I'm not trying to necessarily learn from them. I'm trying to learn what they are doing wrong, or things they're doing well out of line as an exploitative strategy, so that I can then account for that. But I understand streams are free, but they're often not easy to learn from. So I would tell you to instead go to even just strategy YouTube videos by good people, right? Figure out spots that you would play differently than the very good person who makes the videos, and then make those adjustments to your game. The problem with live sweat videos, unless the people are pausing the action and talking through each decision that they're making, is that a lot of stuff is just glossed over, and sometimes plays may be very close, sometimes plays may be very standard, and a lot of the time that will not necessarily come through in the streams. What do I think of Poker Snow? I think it'll teach you to be good, tight, and aggressive. Maybe a little too tight. Maybe tight to a fault. But good, tight, and aggressive. Okay. What else do I have to talk about today? Someone asked about what to eat while playing poker. Now, I don't think it matters that much as long as you're eating somewhat healthily. My initial reply to him was, lean meats and vegetables. Lots and lots of vegetables, lots of lean meats. I also think fruits are fine when you are playing the tournament to give you a little extra energy. I think coffee's fine, especially if you're not on coffee that often. I actually don't drink coffee very much, despite the name of the show. Here we have tea. Tea has less caffeine than coffee for the most part. That way, whenever I do play poker, and I actually need to have a boost of energy, I'm good to go, right? I can just have a cup of coffee and I'm set, right? Definitely find things that you are not abusing, right? If you use coffee all the time, it's going to stop being as effective. So, don't use coffee all the time. Before I go to play a poker tournament series, I often get off tea and coffee altogether for 4 or 5 days. And I think that is a very beneficial thing, because it will make that tool more useful. Most things in life are tools that you use to give yourself an edge, right? Let's see. Do I meditate? I do not. We discussed this in a previous little poker, or a little coffee. Hasn't worked so well for me. I've tried many times unsuccessfully. So what do I take whenever I go? I often have a bunch of almonds. I think almonds are pretty nice. I will eat a fruit cup every now and then. I travel with this smoothie mix called Living Fuel Super Greens, which is basically a protein powder. And I'll drink that. I usually have 2 gigantic scoops of that every day. Often that's breakfast if I wake up late, or if I just don't have time to eat. And I think that works pretty well. So that's sort of my go-to. Tamano says, many people say it's time to go by. The game, or all games, is getting tougher, and it's almost impossible to grind your way up, etc. Do you believe it's still possible to become a pro? Yes, it's definitely possible to become a pro. All you have to do to succeed at poker is find a game you can beat and play it a ton. That's all you really have to do. If you do those 2 things, you'll crush. You could be the 10th say there's a million players. You can be number 900, whatever. But if you play with those 10 people who are worse than you, you're going to win money. That's it. Play with those players, grind up a bankroll, and just keep doing that. Game selection is very important. A lot of people just think, I'm going to play 1-2, then I'm going to play 2-4, then I'm going to play 5-10, then I'm going to play 10-20, and that's it. Straight up the ladder we go. And it's not necessarily that easy. But yes, I definitely do think that you can... I definitely think that you can become a professional poker player today. Just put in a lot of time and volume. A lot of people don't put in volume. I had someone today send me an email saying, man, I'm on a horrible downswing. I'm down 15 buy-ins. I can't believe this. I'm so unlucky, etc., etc. But 15 buy-ins is nothing. It's like chump change. If you have not been on a 50 buy-in downswing playing in tough games, you don't even know what it is. It's like it's not even a thing. It's just normal. People don't know what normal is in poker. They think they understand variance, but they do not. So anyway, understand the game. What is good volume per month? It depends on your setup, right? Most good online players try to play 5,000 to 10,000 hands of cash game hands a day. If you 4-table Zoom games, I think you can get in something like 1,000 hands an hour. So that's 10 hours, 5 to 10 hours a day, right? 5 to 10 hours a day is like nothing. I mean, whenever I used to play, I played 12 hours a day every day, no problem. So that would be, if you put in 5,000 hands a day, it's 150,000 hands a month. 1.2 million hands a year, I think. Is that right? No, more. That's 600K hands every 4 months. So 1.8 million hands a year would be, solid, good volume. What do I think about training sites? Upswing Poker. I thought it was very basic. What do I think about Raise Your Edge? I've never signed up to Raise Your Edge, but I've seen a lot of Ben CB videos, and Ben CB is a genius, and I think he's great. I should probably sign up for that site. What do I think about Run It Once? I think Run It Once is great. All those sites are very good. Well, the last two I presume are very good. Do I know anything about Ali Insurmovic? Not really. It just seems that he's crushing. Good for him. What adjustments do we make when shifting from 9-handed to 6-handed? Essentially none. Understand that 6-handed is just the low jack seat, right? It goes small blind, or big blind, small blind, button, cutoff, hijack, low jack. Then, first 3 positions, right? These 3 just folded in 6-handed games, and here you are. There's no difference. There is this concept called the bunching effect, but it usually is not worth you worrying about too much. But it does exist and is relevant for short stacks, but that's not so important here. Essentially, the adjustments are none. Just assume the first 3 people folded. A lot of people in shorthanded games play maniacal. They think, oh, it's shorthanded, I need to gamble it up. But that's asinine. Just realize when button raises, it's just like the button raises 6-handed or 9-handed. It shouldn't make a difference. Aren't there more premium hands floating around 9-handed than 6-handed? No. There's just more, well, of course, because there's more players. There's 3 more people who are going to get strong hands. But each player, when they open, they have a range, right? When Under the Gun opens, 10-handed or 9-handed, they should have a really strong range, obviously. But if they are all fold, the first 3 players, then you're just playing low jack and later. And if there are, that's the bunching effect, what I just mentioned, where if the first 3 players folded, presumably they folded garbage, which means the last 6 are more likely to have strong hands 9-handed as opposed to 6-handed. But it's a minimal effect. Nathan says, what is the bunching effect? It's the idea that when people fold, they folded garbage. So let's say you're playing 3-handed, there's 3 players, or 9-handed, 9 players, right? If they fold to you on the button 9-handed, it's more likely the last 3 players have good cards because the first 6 players folded, right? They presumably had bad cards. Therefore, the last 3 people are more likely to have good cards. So button 9-handed should have a stronger range when they fold to him than the button 3-handed. Or even 6-handed. But often the adjustment is very, very minimal. Will I ever plan on live at the bike? I've planned on live at the bike many times. At least 4 or 5, I think. If I was to grind my bankroll up, would I concentrate on one aspect of the game, like cash or tournaments? No, definitely. I'd say definitely focus on one game. Don't play different games. Understand that tournaments and cash games and sit and goes and pot limit Omaha and limit hold'em and no limit hold'em, these are all different games. Focus on one game. Get very good at one game. Once you're very good at that one game and you're beating it at very, very high stakes, then branch out. I don't think you need to be jumping all over the place. That's a good way to get okay at a lot of things. And a good way to go broke is to be okay. You need to be very, very good at one thing. All right. Other things to talk about. Closing out a final table. Someone said, how do I close out the final table? First, you have to ask, what are your actual goals? Are we trying to win the tournament? Are we trying to make the most money? Right? These are two very different things. And understand that often the way you win the most money is not trying to win the tournament. If you look at a lot of the best poker players in the world, they have a lot of seconds and thirds. And you may say, well, they're just bad at closing. No, they just take a free second and third because everybody else is trying to win, right? They're trying to grind, they're trying to win the tournament, and they're gambling hard, and they're ignoring ICM. And often the goal is not to win. The goal, well, if you're trying to win money and make the most money, your goal is to make the most money. And that does not mean win. So study individual chip model. There's a great site, ICMizer. You can find it at jlpoker.com/ICM. If you go there, you will see they have a sit and go quiz feature, which will teach you how to play bubble scenarios very, very well. Also, you can run simulations on specific spots. It's a great program to help you understand how to play final tables well. Maybe the question instead, though, is how do I get to a final table with a lot of chips? I actually have a video about this. I'm sure you can Google it. How to make the final table with a lot of chips. I'm at this final table. I actually took 9th place because I got it all in with aces against queens, I think. And I lost versus first chip leader to second chip leader. So that was lame. But I got to the final table with a mountain of chips, and it was just me playing, good, loose, aggressive poker. A lot of people, what happens is they play very tight and aggressive. They think their goal is to ladder up always. But whenever the payout jumps are small, as they often are between 27th place and 12th place, that's when you need to be gambling hard. But when the payout jumps are big, like they are between 5th and 4th, and 4th and 3rd, and 3rd and 2nd, you should also often be trying to get those payout jumps. So understand that you have to first understand your goal. Are you trying to win or are you trying to cash? And then make the correct adjustments. It's actually interesting because sometimes people will think you play poorly whenever you are not playing ICM. I was coaching David Einhorn in the $1 Million Buy-In tournament recently at the World Series of Poker, and he bubbled. He made a loose call on the bubble, and he lost. And a lot of people said, oh my God, that's such a terrible play. But they don't understand that we had a long discussion the morning before the final table. And I was trying to figure out, do you actually care about cashing for $2 million? And his definitive answer to me was, no, I want to win the tournament. Okay. We're going to light that $2 million on fire sometimes because he was a middle stack. And he could very likely just kind of blind out and get that minimum cash. But that's not what he wanted to do. He wanted a chance to win, and he gave himself a chance to get a big chip stack. And it's not the right way to make the most money, but he was trying to win the tournament. All right. When we have 15 big blinds, we open shove every profitable hand. No, that would be very bad because of ICM, right? It depends on the scenario. You often want to turn down tiny edges so that you can get future edges in the future. That said, a lot of people turn down big edges to try to get a bigger edge in the future, and that's almost always a mistake. Is variance high and jackpot sit and goes? I suppose this is like spin and goes on PokerStars. Yes, it's through the roof. Actually, it's just like a tournament where your bankroll always goes down, 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 and then you get a big win and it goes up. Then it goes down, 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 and you get a big win. So you're always on a downswing when you're playing jackpot sit and goes until you get lucky and then win. You have $100. How should you build your poker bankroll? I started with $50. I played Limit Hold'em. I would not recommend that today. A good way to get started is to play something like small stakes cash games. 2 cent, 5 cent. You'll have, 20 big blinds. 20 buy-ins. And you can play 2 cent, 5 cent. And take your time, grind it up. If you lose your $100, it's probably not that big of a deal because it's not that hard to get $100 again. And that's a good way to do it. You could also play sit and goes. I grinded up sit and goes as well. After I got to high stakes limit, I moved over to sit and goes because limit was getting tougher and sit and goes seemed soft. I was doing fine at sit and goes. I eventually went on a big downswing. I decided to go back to $11 games, small stakes, and I was going to win 100 buy-ins at every level. The 11s, 22s, 33s, 55s, 100s, 200s. Then I got up to 500s and then 2000s. But Find a game and grind it up. It doesn't really matter what you pick. I would not suggest tournaments because tournaments are very high variance and you're often going to go broke. Unless you're going to play like 10-cent tournaments or 50-cent tournaments. Okay. Tomato says, why are you not able to move up in stakes? What are some causes? Well, you're not beating your opponents. That's it. You're not beating your opponents. And or you're not beating the rake. Right? Small stakes games on most sites have a very high rake. And it's hard to beat high rake. I tell everyone this whenever they're playing live poker. Get out of 1-2 as soon as possible. You have to. If you don't get out of 1-2, you're not going to be able to make significant money. Because the rake at 1-2 is high. If they rake $6, that's 3 big blinds. At 10-20, it'd be like them taking $60 rake a pot. That's insane. You can't beat $60 rake. And that's what they're doing to you at 1-2. So you need to get out of there ASAP. And often that means just starting at 2-5 or getting some experience at 1-2, but moving to 2-5 as soon as possible. Same thing for tiny stakes online. If you're playing 2 cent, 5 cent, you're going to be getting raked a lot and you need to get out of there as soon as you possibly can. Is there any value in grinding spin and goes? Well, we just answered this question. Yes, they're certainly profitable. There are players who win. There's a training site out there. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but they only teach spin and go strategies, and yeah, you can win. I know a few professional spin and go players. But like I said, their bankroll's always on the downswing. You need a humongous bankroll. MW Lucian, welcome. Can I give you your comments on this hand? All right, we're playing 10-9 of clubs with 50 big blinds. Under the gun opens to 2.2 big blinds. Hero calls on the button. Sure. Big blind calls. Flop comes Jack, 10-4. 2 clubs. We have middle pair and a flush draw. Big blind checks. Under the gun bets 20K. Do we call, jam, or raise? So 20K with 250K behind. I would definitely call there. I discuss this a lot over at pokercoaching.com. Go there, get your free trial. It's completely free. I have a lot of quizzes and a homework question that addresses specifically this. MW Lucian, you don't need to ask me this question. You should have studied this because I already made this material for you. Basically, though, the gist of it is you need to raise with your best made hands and some draws, often draws that are not good enough to call with. You need to call with your marginal made hands and fold your garbage. So, what is the most important factor here? Is it your marginal made hand, or is it your draw? What are you most likely to have by the river? Well, you're most likely to have marginal made hand by the river, right? So, you need to call. Whenever you have middle pair, or any hand that has a lot of showdown value, as middle pair does here, calling is almost always right. And I would definitely call in this spot. I mean, you can jam. Jamming is profitable, but I think calling is a little bit better. It's also going to keep a lot of premium hands in your range, right? You want to be raising with some flush draws and calling with some flush draws. The best flush draws to call with are the ones that have lots of outs and will make the nuts, like the ace-high flush draw is a great one to call with here. And you want to call with the ones that have a good amount of marginal made hand value, like your 10. So you want to raise here with the like the weaker flush draws, or maybe king 9 of clubs or whatever. And you want to be calling with ones that have value. So I would definitely call in that spot. Let's see. John said, should we have a separate bankroll for cash games and tournaments? Depends on how you approach the game. Understand they are definitely different games. They're different setups, right? It's like, should you have a different bankroll for pot limit Omaha and no limit hold'em? I don't know. Depends on how you want to do it. Most people don't have a bankroll at all anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. But in theory, yes, they are different games. But at the same time, if you have an edge in both games, and it's a sizable edge, then probably not. You have to understand, a lot of people like to partition money for one thing. Like, say I get a settlement in a lawsuit and I get $5,000 dumped on me. A lot of people in their minds immediately want to say, this $5,000 is for a new car, right? Or this $5,000 is to pay down my mortgage. But in reality, all your money is in a big pile. And it's not really cleanly partitioned. And I think it's important to segment your money, but at the same time, trying to really obsess over that concept will make you miss out on some opportunities that may come up. Like, let's say we know we're going to spend that $5,000 on a car, but let's say also some investment comes along that you're fairly confident will return 20% a year. You probably want to take that 20% a year investment instead of get a car, assuming the car doesn't give you extra significant utility, right? Tyler, if you think anything is ever wrong with any of the apps, please message me at support@jonathanlittlepoker.com. That'd be very beneficial. Are Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker 1, 2, 3 up to date? Pretty much. Hi from YouTube. Oh, Hood is saying hi to the people on YouTube. Hi, people on YouTube. Sace says, can I help back you? Well, Sace, if you provide me lots and lots of your past results, you show me that you're definitively a losing player, or definitively a winning player. I already know you're definitively a losing player if you ask this question. If you send me a lot of reports of results that you're definitively a winning player, I would consider it. But if you're asking me for a stake on Facebook, the answer is definitely not. I have a poker backing site, pocar.com, Pocarr.com. Check it out. If you're a good player and you need a stake and you need free coaching in exchange for getting staking, they will help you out. What kind of coffee? Today we have pu'er tea with oolong tea. It's almost empty. Almost empty. It's called The Skinny. You can get it from David's Tea. Someone said, what is Mormon? Mormon is a book about Chris Moorman. Good online poker player. Has lots of hands examples of him playing poker hands. It's a strategy book, poker strategy book. It's good. If you want to learn from a very good online player. And it also has his life story. I honestly didn't care about the life story. I'm not so much into stories. I'm into education. But it's a good book. It has a little bit of story and a little bit of education, so check it out. Other than Super System and my book, what are good cash game books? Super System is, I was going to say awful, not good for cash games. If you want to get good at cash games, what's this book called? It's by Hunter Kitchey. Cichy is his last name. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. That's a very good book for cash games. So check that out. Is it a good idea for someone in America to play on those illegal Bitcoin websites like ACR? We discussed this already. Understand that what you are doing playing is not illegal unless it's specifically illegal in your state. I think Washington State is the only place where it's specifically illegal. But I would not suggest keeping any significant amount of money on those sites. I think that would be a very, very big mistake. Yeah, is that a good idea? I mean, it depends on what you're doing with your life. Going from cocaine to cigarettes is a really good idea. Going from no cigarettes to cigarettes is a terrible idea, right? All right, you are playing Play Money on PokerStars as a beginner. Is for practice. Is this okay or is it a waste of time? No, it's a waste of your time. I suggest you put $50 in an online site and get practice. Realize you're probably going to lose, and that's okay, but now you're at least playing as players who are playing as if it is for real. How many hours in cash games do we need to fields before, or do we need to play before we know we're going to have long-term success? First off, understand, like, long-term success is it's a thing that doesn't necessarily exist because edges go down as time progresses. So it also depends. The real question is how many hands do you need, not how many hours do you need, because at some places you play more hands. Like online you play, like I said, 1,000 hands an hour, whereas live you play 30, right? Clearly you're going to get way better clean results online than you are live, because live you play like no hands, right? It takes you 3 days to play as much live as it does 1 hour online. That's just kind of silly, right? Anyway, I don't know, play 100,000 hands and see how it goes. Other than myself, whose style do I admire? I think it would be very egotistical to say I admire myself. I'm not that vain yet. Maybe one day. Whose style do I admire? Style in life? I think a lot of the Germans have it figured out to some extent. When they're not being a little bit overly egotistical, I think they have life on lockdown mode. Boss says that while watching me play versus Phil Galfond on the Global Poker League was awesome when we were both streaming. Yeah, check it out. I think it's at jonathanlittlepoker.com/GPL, I think. I have all of my Global Poker League games there. So you can definitely see that. Sylvantus, the name of that book. I forget the name of the book. The guy's last name, the author, is Cichy, I think. Or CIC... Look it up on dandbpoker.com. dandbpoker.com. It's a blue book. It has a shark on the front of it. Hunter is his first name. Hunter. So check it out. Is it true that live cash games tend to be softer than online? Definitely, 1-2 online is tough. You're going to have a tiny win rate even if you're a world-class player. 1-2 live is a joke. It's super soft. The general thought process is that, or the general idea is that live plays about 8 times bigger than online. So 1-2 live is like 10 cent, 25 cent online. And I think that's pretty right. So yeah, Amin says, last name is Cichy. So look up Kitschy Poker, and I'm sure it'll come right out. Advanced Concepts and No Limit Hold'em. That's it. John Doe got it. Thank you. Let's see. Yep, that's all right. Okay. I have one more thing to talk about today. We'll save one more for tomorrow. If any of you have any ideas you want me to discuss, let me know. I posted something on Instagram the other day. If you're not following on Instagram, please do it, at JCardShark. I posted a little quote that says something to the effect of, your opinions do not matter. What matters is what technology tells you. Technology is greater than your opinion. A lot of people want to say that live poker is rigged, or online poker is rigged, or you can't beat this game, or I think Martians are coming tomorrow, right? Or I think Martians came yesterday. All of these things are just your ideas, and it's important to understand that your ideas are not actually true. I think a lot of people like to think that they are smart and they know a lot, but it's important to understand that you do not know a lot. I know I don't know a lot. It's very important to realize that there are actual experts out there who are doing way more work than you are. Now, let's say we think online poker's rigged. It's not. Sometimes it is, though. Remember the Ultimate Bet thing and the Absolute Poker thing? People got very good data, and they definitively proved it. But to say that, like, they're trying to cheat you at 25 cent, 50 cent no limit is ridiculous. And a lot of people think that it's rigged because they just get bad beat a few times in a row. They don't understand the variance. They think they understand the variance of the game because they are on a small downswing. Or maybe they lost to quads 3 times in a row. It happens, right? And they take the outlier cases that are normal and think that that is proof that something is rigged. And it's not. Also, let's say you think you're a winning poker player, right? Almost everyone thinks they're a winning poker player. But then when they play online and they get Hold'em Manager, they realize, oh my god, I'm getting crushed over and over and over. Or maybe they even win and they see their EV graph, how much they should be up, and they're getting crushed. They're maybe just running hot, right? This happens a lot in PLO, actually. You'll see Patlamad Omaha players who post a graph of them, their like results going straight up, and then you look at their EV graph and it's like going right in the dumpster. So they're just running hot, right? And then you see some people whose money won graph is going into the dumpster, but their EV is going straight up. And you know, it's just definitive proof, right? Someone says ACR is rigged, YouTube it. I'm not going to go YouTube it because I don't care. If you think something is rigged, find definitive proof. If you have definitive proof, take it to the correct authorities, and you will be a hero. Right? If you think that someone is getting severely cheated on a site, you need to be working hard to out that, because you will save many, many people a lot of their money if your accusations are true. If you just think it's rigged because someone posted a video of them losing with quads 4 times, then you're an idiot. I don't know how to say it any more clearly. You're an idiot if you think that is right. Conspiracy theories are a waste of your time. Sorry. And anyway, there you go. So, Mike, I don't really care about what is going on at ACR because I'm not playing there, that's for sure. And he needs to be out if that's a real thing. All right. Do I have any GTO parenting tips? No, I would not be nearly egotistical enough to think that I am good at parenting. How come everyone hits their draws with crappy pot odds? Oh, wait, this is a joke. Okay. How come everyone hits their draws with crappy pot odds and I never hit my draws when I have good pot odds? Yeah, something like that. D. Nelson, we will definitely not talk about politics here, but I think most rational people seem to think most of the same things. All right, let's see. What's a good program for bankroll tracking? I use Hold'em Manager on my computer. If you have a phone, I would just suggest you to look up some sort of bankroll, what's it called? My brain's not working. I used to use a program called Poker Journal, but it came obsolete. Find some program. I think there's one called Run Good app, but it charges $10. I don't think you need to pay for something like this. All you need is an Excel spreadsheet. Really? Anyway, find a bankroll manager that just keeps track of your results every time you play. Ideally, you press a start timer and an end timer, and then you're done, right? William says, most people who say online poker is rigged are crazy. Yeah, that's accurate. Do you read the Bible? I read the Bible a lot as a kid, that's for sure. Can you make a living playing only live tournaments? Yes, but there's a problem. The problem with live tournaments is that you don't get to play very many hours per day. Whenever you play poker, you make some amount of money per hand that you play. Okay? The problem with tournaments is you may bust after like 2 hours and just be done. The fact that re-entry tournaments came about, though, that definitely helps the pros. Re-entry tournaments are awful for the recreational players. Awful, awful, awful. Because the pros get to continue buying in with a positive expectation, and that positive expectation comes from the bad players. So, anyway, yes, I definitely think it's possible today, especially when you can re-enter over and over, because you get to play like 6 hours a day minimum. In the past, you'd only get to play 2 hours a day, or 3 hours a day sometimes, assuming you only played tournaments, and then you just stopped after the day. And that made it hard for you to put in hours. You make some amount of money per hand you play / per hour you play, and that is why it's hard to make a living playing live tournaments. But live tournaments are really soft at high stakes. Like, you're never going to find a super soft 100, 200 game you can play on a regular basis. But you can find a $10,000 buy-in tournament that's soft every weekend. Can you make a living playing 1-2? What is a living? At 1-2, it's thought you can make about $15 an hour. So is that a living? I don't know. What does the role inflation play in poker? I think that inflation is an interesting concept. If you played 5-10 10 years ago and you're playing 5-10 today, well, you took a 50% pay cut and you don't even realize it. Playing for fiat money is kind of a silly or an interesting thing because your money is always getting deflated. And, well, that's a problem. So, if you see someone playing 5-10 today and 5-10 10 years ago and they're the same player, the same person, they may think they're doing just fine and they probably want a lot of money, but their money gets devalued consistently, and that's a problem. What's my upcoming live poker schedule? I am probably playing the Party Poker Series in Montreal. They've had some great turnouts there, and they're having another series in Montreal in the end of October, I think. And then, also, I'm going to play the tournament in the Bahamas, at Baha Mar. Mike keeps trying to tell me to go on and on about someone on YouTube making cheating videos. I'm not going to go look up someone making cheating videos because I value my time. It's very important to understand. You only have so much time in your life. And if you're spending it doing things that are not beneficial to you specifically, it's probably not beneficial for you. Louis Philippe says, you're playing the WPT2 in Montreal. Great, I'll probably see you there. I'm not 100% to go, but probably. If someone came out with something saying Party Poker or Poker Stars is rigged, I would be very interested because those are the two sites I play on. But, I mean, yeah, if you play on a shady American site, it may be rigged. I don't know what to tell you. Am I a Giants or a Jets fan? I have to be a Giants fan because my wife has season tickets to the Giants. I really don't care, though. Sports are another thing, right? A good example of something I just don't have time. Oh my gosh, my wife's calling me. Is she crazy? She knows what I'm doing. My wife just tried to call me. Sorry, everyone on Instagram. Sports are relevant to my life, so I don't keep track of sports because I don't have time. It does not benefit me, right? Someone says they love how I tell it how it is. I'm just trying to give you all good, honest information. Why do I care if a group of men beat another group of men at a game that I'm never, ever going to play? Right? If you care about something like football, why do you not care about ice hockey or roller derby or beach volleyball or badminton? Like, why? What's the purpose? The only games I care about are games that I actually play. And even then, I don't care about them very much. So, Yeah, I don't follow sports. What do I think of blockchain-powered poker sites? I think they're a great idea if they play exactly in a main currency like Ethereum or Bitcoin specifically. I think the sites that are trying to get you to play on their own individual tokens is a bad idea, mainly because the individual tokens value, like there's no reason it should be there, right? The only reason to make an individual token is to take money from an ICO or to get people to buy into your token. They need you to give them money so that you can play in their token. And I think that's probably a bad idea. Boss said he thought I lived in the USA. I do live in the USA, but I currently relocated to Hungary. So whenever I go out of the country, whenever I go out of America, I play on those online sites. That's perfectly allowed. Is 20 big blinds per hour possible at 2.5? I don't know, probably. I think 10 big blinds per hour is usually pretty good. What else do I play besides poker? The only games I play besides poker at the moment are Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone. I like to think I'm decent enough at both. But there's no money in those games. So they don't matter. I try to play them less and less, actually. Those are one of the things I'm actively trying to get out of my life. I haven't played Magic in 3 months now. I still watch Magic videos. There's a streamer I like a lot named Rich Shea. I love Rich Shea. Hopefully some of you love me like I love Rich Shea. And I try to watch all of his streams. I love it, and they're great. I learn a lot. He's fun. He tells it like it is. And I think it's great. So I watch all Rich Shea streams. That is my Magic the Gathering consumption at the moment. All right, so let's see. Would I rather play poker or create content? I like a mix. I think it's very important to have a mix of things in your life. If you do the same thing all day, every day, you're going to be bored, even if it's like the most fun thing in the world. So, I like mixing it up. If I played poker all day, every day, I get burnt out. If I write a book all day, every day, I get burnt out. Did you play Blood Bowl as a kid? I don't know what Blood Bowl is. Seems like you have headphones on all the time at the table. That's mainly to get people not to talk to me. Hooded, I'm not sure what you're asking. I went to Hungary and set up a residency. Do you like tournaments or cash games better? I like fun cash games better. Then I like regular tournaments. Then I like boring cash games the least. Who won the rap battle, me or Alex? I don't participate in rap battles. I would actually say that rap is probably my least favorite form of music. Any tips on finding a poker school / coach? Well, try my site, pokercoaching.com. You can sign up completely free for a week. We have homework webinars, we have lots and lots of quizzes, etc., etc., etc. Which content that I have made is a must-have? My book, right up there. Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em. Get it. It's a very good book. What's a good software tracker for PLO? Hold'em Manager does PLO. Use Hold'em Manager. Full Metal Poker says, not metal? No, I like metal better than rap. Actually, my favorite music is classical music. The thing I listen to almost all the time, though, are podcasts. I like podcasts a lot because they are educational. I don't listen to story podcasts. I listen to educational podcasts. I'm always trying to learn. I'm not really trying to be entertained. Someone sent me a message on Instagram the other day saying something to the effect of, people don't really care about being educated. They only care about being entertained. And I think that is true for, I don't even know the percentage, maybe 75% of people. They don't care about bettering themselves. But that 25% of people who do care about bettering themselves, then, I mean, those are the people who I am working for. Those people who I'm working towards, helping. And, you know, it's fine. I understand I'm not the most entertaining human in the world, and that is A-okay. What do you listen to when I'm at the poker table? Classical music, almost always. What's a good educational poker podcast? There aren't many. I have one, Weekly Poker Hand. Put out a Poker Hand podcast every week. You can watch the video of it at jonathanlittlepoker.com/WPH for Weekly Poker Hand. But there really aren't very many good educational podcasts. There are some that talk about hands, but I feel like a lot of the analysis is bad. I do like Daniel Negreanu's podcast. It's called DAT Poker Podcast. I think that's good. Hey, Amy Broder, my wife is here. Hello, Amy Broder. She tried to call me. She's missing my credit card number for Amazon. Sorry, you have to wait. You interrupted my stream a minute ago. Thank you. Hello. Let's see. The Hurt Locker says he hates Daniel Negreanu. That's an interesting concept because there are definitely people who I do not like so much, and I don't listen to their content very often. It's okay. There are also some people who I don't like very much, whose content is so good that I listen to their content anyway. Whenever someone is putting out such high quality information that you'd be a fool not to consume it, I think you have to go beyond what you like and what you don't like, and instead you have to realize that they're providing a lot of value. And I think Daniel Negreanu is probably one of those people. He provides immense value, and even if you don't like him, you probably need to listen to him. Like, there are a lot of online poker players who are just like super egomaniacs, and I do not like them at all as people, but they put out good content, right? And if they put out good educational content, you should consume it. Strategy question on monotone flops. When should you keep barreling or give up? That is a gigantic question, Hold'em Punisher. I would definitely suggest you check out my book. Right up there. Mastering Small Stakes, No Limit Hold'em. Do you think the poker community frowns on people giving away tips? Some do and some don't. Some people have the mindset that I am never going to talk strategy and I'm never going to give anything away. But that's interesting because they often got their strategies from someone else. Very few people learn in a vacuum. It's hard to get good at poker by yourself. And I don't mind helping people who want to get better. I got helped by people whenever I first started coming up, and without their help, I would definitely not be here today, and I want to provide value to you. Hold'em Manager is not available for Mac. There's a program called Poker Copilot that is available for Mac. So check that out. Someone says he is still coaching, not playing. I don't know if they're referring to me or not. What are my top 3 poker podcasts for strategy? Like I just said, there really aren't very many. The only poker podcasts I listen to are Daniel Negreanu's podcast, Dat Poker Podcast. I listen to my own podcast to make sure I don't mess up, Weekly Poker Hand. I listen to Elliot Rose, Mindset Advantage podcast. I think that's very good. And I listen to 2 more. Card Player Lifestyle Magazine. That's not really a lifestyle. That's not really a... Or Card Style Life? What's it called? Card Player Life. It's an interview podcast. And I listen to Heads Up with Remco. That's also not necessarily a strategy podcast, though. Let's see. Do I have an opinion on poker vloggers? Yeah, I think it's great. You know, there's an audience for everything. A lot of people like living vicariously through people. I mean, I make vlogs every now and then. I've been making vlogs for about 10 years now. And yeah, it's a way that people can relate to you. So I think it's a good thing. It's not for everyone. Like I said, right, there are millions of podcasts out there, and I listen to like 10 of them. There are a bunch of poker bloggers out there. Maybe you find one that you like. There are a million Magic the Gathering streamers, but I only like one. So you find what you like. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Someone says Hold'em Manager is available for Mac. Okay, well, maybe it is. Have I played with Matt Berkey much? No, I have not. Do I think he plays a good strategy? I don't know. Does he win? If he wins, he's probably playing a good strategy. Actually, I think he's known for playing a really exploitable strategy. And really exploitable strategies are very, very difficult to teach and very difficult to implement. So you'll find often that a lot of people who... I'm not saying this is Matt Berkey at all, by the way. A lot of people who play a very bizarre strategy cannot necessarily dictate or write or anything like that why they are winning. And you need to make sure that people can learn why you are winning. What I think about Dr. Trisha Cardner's podcast. I haven't really listened to it because of a lack of time. Like I said, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I don't have infinite time. Instagram's telling me I have to wrap it up within 1:48 seconds. So I guess we better do that. What Magic the Gathering stream do I like? Rich Shay. You can Google Rich, R-I-C-H-S-H-A-Y, the ATOG Lord. All right, I have to get going. Thank you all for being here today. We'll be back tomorrow. I have another question. We're going to talk about hobbies tomorrow. If you have any questions for me, feel free to email them to me and make sure you tell me you want me to discuss it on a little coffee. We'll be here 9 a.m. every day. We're probably not going to go for an hour every day, but you all kept giving me good questions, so we kept on going. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for being here. Good luck with everything. Be nice to someone. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.